Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morse, the review guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one I'm going to be covering the new Rings of Saturn album entitled Gidim. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Rings of Saturn is a band that I've always kept my eyesight on for the fact that they're just a very strange band when it comes to deathcore and technical deathcore and death metal, which they fit squarely into kind of technical deathcore. They perform a very frantic, very over-the-top type style, much like a lot of the unique Leader Records bands, or even close to something like an Infant Annihilator, just with more futuristic tendencies, which obviously that's the one thing you will get going into a Rings of Saturn album, whether it be the album art, the lyricism, that has made the internet kind of jokingly call them aliencore, as if the world didn't have enough genres already. I was very excited to check this record out to see, if nothing else, if Rings of Saturn could update their sound at all, push any boundaries, change up anything, because I think their one major issue is they do kind of blend in with the major field of bands within their own genre. Not only electronic elements, but also symphonic elements have become a mainstay staple in a lot of metal genres. Now that's not to say Rings of Saturn doesn't have a unique style, because it's clear that they have a very distinct sound. When you're listening to a Rings of Saturn song, or at least when I'm listening to a Rings of Saturn song, it is very, very, easy to tell apart their sound, their chord progressions, their riff writing, their vocals. Unfortunately though, Gidim, pretty much like a lot of their other records. I mean, almost exactly like their other records. This is over-the-top technical deathcore that has a method to the madness, that has a very chaotic feel, littered with breakdowns, a lot of guttural growls, as well as shrieks, a very kind of clean production, but very bassy as well. I wish I could sit here and say this is a completely different album with so many different ideas, but they really do follow their own formula pretty well of sounding very technical, but it isn't as over-the-top on this record, I would say. It is much easier, in my opinion, to digest a lot of their riff writing that sounds technical but not too technical, and the drums act very punchy on this record, but a lot of times reach that timbre of just being a little bit over the top. And considering the fact that this does follow the formula of their previous records, the most interesting sections of this record continue to be their futuristic sections, such as pustules, with that futuristic guitar riff that accompanies a breakdown. It's one of the coolest breakdowns I've heard in a while, and I listen to quite a bit of new metalcore and deathcore, or a lot of the futuristic riffs that pop in and kind of dominate the track Divine Authority, but it is a kind of taking and giving type of thing, because while you're getting these futuristic riffs, you're also not really able to focus on the other playing on the track, or the vocals, which occasionally get drowned out in the mix a little bit, and can feel a little bit stale when you do kind of focus in, laser focus on those vocals. Cloaked in hyperfuturistic formats, they follow a pretty strict blueprint for technical death metal and technical deathcore, and don't really take any risks to advance their sound or add any new dynamics that makes their sound a little bit more appealing, a little bit more interesting to listen to, a little bit more intriguing from a compositional standpoint, leaving this record sounding like an okay Rings of Saturn album in their discography, in their catalog that's just building a lot of the same records. And although I do consider myself a fan of the band, my interest with the band and my rampant intrigue for the band is just slowly and slowly depleting with each release that they release, becoming more and more stale in my opinion, and a little bit more boring to listen to, even though it shouldn't, because they're so technical. And it goes to show that technicality doesn't necessarily mean that the songwriting is going to be as stellar as you might like from a genre that has technical in the name. They give you the technicality, but it's just not that interesting of technicality. Still, if you're a fan of technical deathcore or death metal, I think Rings of Saturn is a must, and for the aliencore subgenre, they're still one of the more unique bands you can find in this genre. I just think this is not necessarily one of their weaker releases. I just don't think it is any more adventurous than anything they have previously released. I'm going to be giving this album a 6.5 out of 10. And that is a wrap. What were your thoughts of this new Rings of Saturn album? Get them. Go ahead and post in the comment section below. I would love to discuss the record with you. Be sure to share this video if you enjoyed it, like it, and subscribe to join the review family today. I'd love to have you here. Smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morse, the review guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.